call the meeting to order. I'd like to announce an executive session held with the board and council after the board meeting on September 28th. Now it's time we'll take public comment on non-agenda items. Does anyone have comment? Yeah, Maria, you first.
Thank you. At our last meeting, I asked a question about auto insurance on the snow removal contract. I was wondering if we have an answer on that. At that point, you didn't know if they had auto insurance for people with snow removal.
Yes, they have auto insurance. They have $1 million in auto insurance.
Are we named as additional insured?
West Vincent Township is included as an additional insured.
Thank you.
Okay. Comments? All right.
I would like to announce to everyone that there is a program being sponsored by Green Valley's Watershed Association and the Township's EAC called Power Through Participation. I'm going to give a copy of this to Tammy to put on the website if the supervisor said okay. Be a super citizen advocate for the environment and for our local watersheds. Monday, October 19th, 6:30 to 8:30 at the West Vincent Elementary School. Don't miss this great opportunity to gain meaningful skills in citizen advocacy and activism. Democracy demands civic engagement to work well, learn how to be heard. Join seasoned activist Maya Van Rosten, the Delaware Riverkeeper, who will give all interested residents what they need to know how to be the best advocates for protecting our resources and who is responsible for enforcing environmental laws. So, we hope that you will let Tammy put that on the website. Brian's on copy?
He's over there.
Oh, Brian.
You said you...
Remember things better if you read them than hear them.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Public comment section?
Further comments or comments on
No.
how...
Okay, yeah, Mrs. Tremblay.
I would like to talk about the Ewing development. For the History Committee, I have driven by it a few times over the last few years, but I haven't been able to drive by it for about a year because the road's been cut off. And so this week we decided we better have a look at what has happened over there and what has not happened. A great deal has happened over the years to that development. Do you know where I'm talking about, back on Eagle Farms Road?
And you know you're really talking to them, not us. You need the microphone?
No, I don't think so, but I feel, this is how I'll do. Thank you, Sarah. I do the stories that go with the history, and I have wonderful stories about that house, but I won't bother you with them too much. But you should read the documents that were done originally by the Army Corps of Engineers that said it was historic in many, many ways, especially for the farm estate, the beautiful big barn, the outbuildings, the 1720 core of this Georgian house. And I could tell you about Henry Benner, but I told you I would tell stories. Henry Benner, who went off to the Revolutionary War, later his two sons went too, 3 of them. So I think you should watch for ghosts of Revolutionary War soldiers looking for their house, for their farm. They'll be very disappointed. It also talks about historic trees, 2 big ones that were right beside the house, and they're not there anymore. Over years, later you can look, it has deteriorated and deteriorated. And we do have a situation, I believe, of demolition by neglect. But I'm not the expert who can do that. We made a contract, when I say we, the supervisors, the township, we made a contract only 3 years ago. I didn't know about that. And we agreed that the facade of the farmhouse should be saved. And And the more you read it, the more you don't see anything more than the facade. So I asked Jim, and he said, no, they mean to save the house. Today I got Toll Brothers on the phone. They said the same thing. They mean to sell that house to someone who will preserve it. They really should have done that at the beginning, because by now it's in very poor condition, although I don't know what it's like inside. The contract that we have with them says that at any time, you folks can ask to be shown through it to inspect it. Not only do you have the right to inspect it, but you have the responsibility to inspect it too, to keep the preservation going. So I'm asking you to engage your right to inspect inside and outside and make a recommendation and kind of push them along a bit to take care of that house. Later you will see, if you look at all the pictures, that they're right up to the edge of the property, the edge of the house. That's my request.
Thank you. Brian, you're next.
From the last meeting, I had said that I would get some documents to Jim which showed that D&L Construction, when OSHA had inspected them, had come to the conclusion that their workers were employees, that D&L Constructions had been cited, and they had been fined. It turns out to be $2,800. And when I looked at this, it was still unpaid as the date of my Freedom of Information Act. Jim, you were arguing that D&L hadn't been cited or fined or anything like that. Do you still hold to that position?
Brian, you just sent me information today. I saw that you had sent me an email. I've not had a chance to look at it, so I can't respond to it because I haven't seen the contents of your email.
Did you take a look at the one concerning the 401 sidewalk project?
From you?
Yes.
I did not get an email from you on the 401 sidewalk project, no.
I'll go back and look because I believe I did send it. And I also...
Was it sent today?
Yes.
I did not receive it as of about 4:45 today.
I will check that one again tonight. And I also said that I would get you some information on the Blackhurst Road Stormwater Project, but I'm going to hold off on that. I guess all these will roll to the next meeting because I don't have a color printer, and without that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Tommy.
Just a question pertaining to what Isabel had brought up. Was the Eagle Farms development that she's speaking of, was that ever brought in front of the EAC and then to the Historical Committee?
The Historical Committee didn't exist when that was brought before the EAC. That would have been brought before the EAC.
Was it?
Well, yeah, it would have been, but it would have been prior to 2002. The township has had an EAC since, I believe, 1996.
It's 2012 is the year that.
But the agreement with the developer is 2002. There were some later documents that were put into place. Now, if you're asking whether or not the EAC saw that specific document, I'm going to have to look. The answer is I don't know. It's entirely possible they did, but I don't remember it. We'll have to look.
Well, I just, for everyone's greater, knowledge is that with our historic properties and not, we are, we're supposed to have something set up that's an overview to help protect our historic properties. At one point, when we did the historic Birchmanville thing and put it on the National Registry, we claimed that we were going to do historic commission. It's set up in our code that we do, but we don't. We have the EAC. And I'm just thinking, as it stands now with an EAC, this stuff is going on, and there literally is nothing there that's protecting. our historical resources. So, I mean, where is the EAC in on the Eagle Farms development at this juncture?
I think you just heard from them.
The
Well-
Historical Resource Committee is part of the EAC. So,
I'm
I
not
know I've
saying that,
spoken,
but-
and I've spoken with, if you allow me to speak, I've spoken with Harriet about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a request tonight to inspect and to act on information that's been developed. And I suspect that'll happen.
It's a little too late though, isn't it?
No, I don't believe it's too late at all. But again, until we investigate, we don't know.
Is that all, Tommy?
Yes.
Okay. George Robinson, have a comment?
I have a question. The farmhouse, that's on the historical register?
Is that farmhouse on the historical register? I don't know, is it on the historical register?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Said it was worthy, that
Right,
we
it's not-
should put it.
It's not on the historical register.
Is it on the map though? Is it on the historical overlay map?
For the whole township? I'm sure it's on that map, yeah.
Oh, it exists, but it's not registered.
It's not on the
It said it
historical
should be registered.
Right.
The Army Corps of Engineers and the Pennsylvania History and Museum,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah.
They've said the same about my house, and I've said no, because I'm not spending the unbelievable amounts of money that it would cost to upkeep my home in order to make it historically viable. Not doing it.
You can understand that the historic register has nothing to do with preservation. There's no teeth, no legal teeth at all.
That's my point.
Right, historic register means nothing other than it's a badge of honor that your house is an old building. That's all it means.
Exactly, and it's not
So
that you
there's no
have to
point.
spend a lot of money yourself
It will do nothing unless you have this historic and architecture.
My house had cedar shingles on it historically. Actually, they were white pine shingles.
No, nobody's
Price
trying to tell you that you have to do that.
But what they're saying, who's gonna spend the money to keep this building up? The builder has to do it, the owner has to do it.
There is no-
There's an agreement. That's one.
Do you understand, though, the only thing that would make you have to do these things is if for some reason we had a harm, which no one does harms anymore.
Has a what?
It's-
Hey, Tommy, the historic and architectural review board that's governed by the township or the body policy.
And we rejected that a long time ago. No one wants to tell you what to do.
Okay.
But no one's doing that. It's
Tommy, George, and Carl, just, you're supposed to address the board with your comments, and I see it deteriorating, so I think you all have good points, but this isn't the place to argue them out. Other comments? Kit?
We're kind of on the same lines. Brinkwood is a really significant and important piece of real estate in this township. Now, I saw a question / rumor that Toll Brothers, someone was asking, did Toll Brothers buy that tract of land? This was being asked. So, anything from the board on that?
To our knowledge, it hasn't been sold to either Toll Brothers or to anyone else.
Okay, and that's good. But being that it's like the largest, like singly owned piece of property in the township.
And largest.
It is, it's huge, and it's really important, it's very significant, and it's sort of hanging out there, sort of like this threat, really, to the future of the township. I think it would be important at this point to figure out what the board's intentions are for that piece of property. So I'd like to have a little bit of dialogue and discussion on that. So I'll start with John. What do you think will happen with that tract of land? What are your plans for that?
Well, first off, it's the zoning code that requires it, and the owners of the property decide what's done with their property. It's not what the board of supervisors do. At this point in time, if they came in and purchased it tomorrow, whatever in the zoning code, they could get away with.
So they can do whatever's there in the zoning. So does the zoning code work along with land preservation?
And why not?
I'm asking you, does it?
There's greenways clauses, there's many different things in the zoning code that protect land.
So that basically you're saying that that's it, whatever they decide they're going to do, that's what they can do.
If somebody bought it today, or tonight, yes, whatever's in the zoning code is pretty much the Bible, what is going to happen, what they could do, not what they would.
Okay, but so you don't, like as a supervisor, you don't have like a cohesive plan, if you thought about this and how you might help, I don't know, do you want it saved or you don't, or I don't know what you think of it?
I'm not sure where you're going with this, but
Just
I hope
one?
I hope that if there's 5 houses on there, I hope there's only 5 houses on there forever.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's likely, but until
So is
it's...
there any, so as a supervisor, there's nothing that you can do?
Well, sure we can. We can restrict zoning, we can change it. The zoning code's been in, when was the last time it was changed, Jim?
It was changed in 2012, in terms of a major change.
Before that, was there any changes in the last 10 years?
Oh, it was changed probably a dozen times in the last 10
It's an ongoing
years.
process, John.
What's that?
It's sort of an ongoing process.
No, I get that. My point is, there's supervisors sitting up here every year, 3 of us every year, and if you're trying to point out that, you know, we didn't restrict it, well, it is restricted to some extent.
Do you know to what extent? I'm just trying to find out what, because I'm going to ask the other.
I've tried to read it, but I gotta tell you, and I've mentioned this before at other meetings, that document is 479 pages long, and I would be remiss if I said I recalled every legal nuance of that. I don't. I would have to read it, as I assume we all would, because you wouldn't be able to remember it all.
Well, again, like I said, I think it's important to understand where the supervisors are on this particular tract of land. And so I'm actually going to ask each of you if you could share with me basically what your plan is or what you know about it. But I also think, if you would just entertain me for a moment, that I think that we should ask Mike what he plans as well, because he could possibly be sitting up there, and this is really important to the future of the township. If you guys don't mind, would you have an answer for that at all? Or what
I would do.
Yeah, what your plan would be.
I
or-
can only do what I can do based on the zoning.
You know what you can do?
No, I've read the whole.
Excuse me, Ken, I think I'm gonna object to this. This is getting a little out of hand. This
I
is a
would like to know what
township
David-
Yeah,
meeting.
then you are here to address the board too.
Okay, that's fine. So David, what do you think about it, and where would you, what do you think about Brinquet? And
I think that's good, that what we have done to date is what we can do, which is to put the zoning in such a way that the density would be minimized, or at least the overall density would be minimized. The effect of the zoning changes of 2012 was to, somebody help me with this, what was the reduction in the potential number of units as a result of that?
It was at least 700 units.
Several hundred reduction by the change in zoning.
That's
For the
not
rest,
so
I mean, here's what I have to say. We can't say what we're gonna do until we know what somebody else is gonna do. We have to be reactive on this. We don't, if we had the money, if we had, whatever the price is, $50 million, we don't, we wouldn't buy it, but we don't. So, is that a fair answer to your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to gauge the level of interest that you have in it and what maybe, you would plan to do.
I'd say the level's very high, but the ability to do something about it right now is not very high at all.
Yeah, it just feels like it's like on the edge, and this township gets a lot of attention about how wonderful it is to be here, highly rated township, and so I feel like, as soon as things break loose financially, this is gonna be looked at, and it's gonna be on the mark. Ken, what about you? Anything?
Well, the next time the Powerball's 500 million, go buy a ticket, and if I win, I'll do what everybody in this room would do, we'd probably buy and keep it the way it is. John, David, you have to agree with
No,
that.
of course.
But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Be nice
And,
to share it. It would be nice if the whole township could see what's in there.
I'd have to agree with John and David that the ordinance calls the shots. It's up to us to make sure that we defend the ordinance. We don't know who's going to buy it or what they're going to want to do with it. I contacted the executive director of Molly Morrison of the Natural Lands Trust after I'd heard that Daniel Dietrich died, because I'm sure most people in the room here know that they've been trying to do some kind of a low-impact subdivision on that property. And she said that since Daniel had died, and I guess predeceasing him by a short time was the attorney that the family used for years and years, that they submitted a agreement of sale for the new law firm and the estate to consider. And Molly Morrison said it was to buy the property in its entirety. And then he's against development and resell parcels off to recoup their costs as much as they could. And one thing that she said that was interesting was that they would need a lot of subdivision work to be done for that to achieve, because the existing properties don't reflect maybe the ability to sell conservation lots, large conservation lots, and it's had to sort of tailor those to a buyer. And she wanted to know if the township would be, willing to think outside the box a little bit. And I said that I'm only one supervisor out of 3, but anything that would reduce the density potential on that is something I'm sure we'd all think about. And I'm sure, John, you figure that too, right?
Absolutely.
David? And that's all that I know what to say. If a builder buys it and comes in and they want to build it to maximum density, then we defend the ordinance.
But there is some give and take involved in any development process for, possibly ball fields or trails or other things.
Right. That's right. So that's what I get out of your question. That's the answer I have. And I don't know what the time frame would be, where did you hear that 1,000 acres or Toll Brothers
Somebody was asking that question on Facebook.
Okay.
They said,
Okay.
that they heard that and was it true, and I
Okay.
didn't follow
Okay.
through.
As far as we know, it's not, but we don't know.
Right.
So there's nothing in the township.
Right.
Well, I just think that makes us feel a little bit better, at least it makes me feel a little bit better.
Might get a plan in tomorrow.
Right. Uh-huh. Can I ask one more question? This really isn't, not on that topic, but
Yep.
I've heard a lot of things about fiscal irresponsibility. And it's really coming from one of the supervisors as if they need help to straighten that out. Where is the fiscal irresponsibility? I think that as taxpayers, if somebody knows something about some fiscal irresponsibility, I think it needs to come out. So what would that be?
Did you say one of the supervisors suggested that? Which one?
You.
Give me some more context. What did I say? Where did I say it?
Oh, back in the spring, you sent a letter saying that you needed help on the board to take care of the fiscal irresponsibility.
Kid, I think you've said enough. If you'd like to talk to me about something like that,
No, I
I'd be
just want to know
delighted.
if it's there.
Kid, I live in this township. I've lived here for 15 years. You've never once called me to ask me my opinion on anything. I find it kind of humorous tonight, 2 or 3 weeks before an election, you come up with a question like that. So
You're a
forgive me,
supervisor
kid.
now, Sean.
Kid,
Why would I have
forgive
called
me.
you?
Well, because you have all these questions
And
for
I've
me.
given you time to
No,
find
kid,
this fiscal irresponsibility.
Let me finish. I'm trying to give you an answer. I'm not going to respond to you tonight, kid.
Well, you're
I
not
find
trying
it
to give me an answer.
objectionable.
Okay, kid.
Okay, I'm allowed to my opinion, and I find it quite objectionable tonight, so thank
Okay.
you. I'm not going to answer you.
Thank you.
Okay. Tommy, had your hand up?
Back to the bring code thing, and not, we're saying it goes back to the ordinances. Are we, because this is a possibility, have we re-examined our ordinances to make sure that they're strong enough to withstand possible lawsuits, possible, whatever against them? And are there things, acknowledgement to KIP? With the historical overlay map and not, is there any looking to the future in case there is the development there, which pretty much everybody thinks it's going to happen, to protect, because it's so close, is there any kind of looking towards the, like historic Bertrandville and other historical resources? Any eye from the board to protect those historical resources? Just in case? Or are we waiting until they come to to you and say, I'm Toll Brothers, I have a ton of money.
Time to mention another credit min. The checking your own credit hurts.
Or that, but. I'm just trying to find out, are we like preparing ahead of time? Are we looking, I mean, when we went through the schoolhouse thing, we kind of knew that there were holes, weaknesses in the ordinances, you know, that probably should be shored up a little. But nothing's happened since then. Are we looking to perhaps maybe do that ahead of time? Or are we waiting until they're knocking before we act?
John, David?
We have had discussions recently, very, very preliminary, about possibly redoing the zoning ordinance. But other than just general talk, we haven't gotten very far on that discussion.
And the only thing I'll note is that when we made the last series of changes to the zoning ordinance, the solicitor's office has always been heavily involved in reviewing what's been done and always has advised the board as to whether or not they thought there were concerns about whether or not things within the ordinance could be overturned.
Okay,
Well-
Tommy,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
you had said right at the beginning of your statement that you wanted to know if our ordinances were, rock solid, defensible. And we think they are, but one place where zoning is not so much of a right angle, sharp edge thing is that townships can push the envelope on what state law requires for density. And, not to give any credence to anything someone might say about what I say, but we, ever since I've been supervisor and before, we always push the envelope to reduce impact and reduce density to the point where our solicitors warned us and our land planners warned us that you might have to defend yourself because there might be an opening there for a builder to say that you're too restrictive, that you don't meet the letter of the law. And we always were comfortable being there because it made a lot of difference in a lot of developments that have been built in the township. And I think that our ordinance is still that way. The original plan has been a big help because for somebody to challenge our zoning ordinance, a builder to challenge our zoning ordinance, they have to challenge all the municipalities' ordinance in the regional zoning. And that gets to be a real big problem to deal with for a builder.
Well, with the schoolhouse thing, we heard over and over from the board that we would have to probably accept it because of potential lawsuits.
I never said that.
No, I know you didn't.
I never did.
But Claire did multiple times. It's on, so I'm just wondering why. I mean, I brought this up now repeatedly. You know that I'm a broken record.
Right.
Why not?
You're not actually a little different every time. So.
Right. Well, I tried. So, why not look into historical commission?
Right.
And I mean, the ordinances. If you look in the books, it says we have the historical commission. We don't. We have the EAC, which is pretty toothless. And so if we were at risk of being sued by the schoolhouse, when Toll Brothers, if that's Toll Brothers, comes, we're kind of, I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying it.
Screwed?
Yes. Okay, that's a polite way of saying it. Yeah. So I know I keep bringing this up. I know I should probably bring this up and put it, ask for it officially to come up, but would you guys actually maybe think at some point of discussing a commission? Because that would take, you talk about, you guys are the good guys, you brought it up to, you bring it right to the line and not, but a historical commission may actually protect you guys from
Okay, well, calling us the
lawsuits.
good guys for that, I've had a lot of bad comments from landowners when they find out that they can't build as many houses as what they thought they could build, because when a property is sold, at least previous to now, it's based on numbers of dwelling units. It doesn't matter the size of the lot or the location of the roads or anything, it's how many houses you can build. And, you know, if a guy has a piece of ground for sale and it's 50 acres and he thinks he can build 20 houses, he can only build 10 because of the ordinance, he's not very happy because he's leaving. And he, you know, it might be his retirement, and that's all understandable, but that's not our job to look out for somebody's bottom line.
Exactly, it's not that. I mean, we all want the homeowner, you know, the landowner to have as much rights as they can. But if it's in a historic district and there are things, if it's in the historical overlay map or whatever, and that there are ordinances there to protect that history for the entire township, you know, when they buy that piece of land, shouldn't they know it ahead of time that they're buying, you know, in a property that is protected or should be protected?
I think in our ordinance, they do, that is called out in the ordinance.
No one ever
in the subdivision
contacted us.
application.
All I can tell you is that our current practice, and I can only speak for current practices, our current practices is when someone comes in for a new subdivision, one of the things we do is we identify all the historical properties on that, and we meet with them to point that out and point out the sections of the zoning ordinance that apply to those historic buildings. That's something that we do now.
Anything else, Tommy?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, other comments? Richard?
Not necessarily referring to tonight, but I think it's time that we revisit the time limit going back to the days of Mr. Hellwig and all. I think it's time with what Brian has tied up here in our meetings of the last few months. I think it's time that we put some kind of a time limit on how long somebody can delay the meeting.
Well, actually, as long as it's not Brian asking questions, I sort of enjoy the give and take. Sorry, Brian. I'm just one of 3 supervisors, so I always was in favor of an open meeting, open discourse, and lots of times the questions make me uncomfortable, and I feel that they put me on the spot, but that's the job.
Well, Brian has been asked a number of times to submit
Let's not pick on Brian.
Okay, well,
I talked to a supervisor at Upper Euclid a week or so ago, and he said that they have a 5-minute time frame, and they're reluctant to use it because they just don't want to clamp down on citizens. Everybody has the right. And they said they rarely use it unless something gets, you know, repetitive, very, very repetitive, which sometimes it does. But
it does. And I think it would be nice if we had some kind of a safety valve to fall back on.
Okay. Kit.
At the risk of being repetitive. And to be, you know, make sure everybody understands, John, I actually did send you an email before, so it hasn't been that I've never contacted you with questions. I have contacted you with questions. I never did get an answer from you. So if I am reluctant to send you an email asking questions, that would be why. I never got an answer to that email. So that's why I'm asking you questions here in this meeting.
if you would like, I will take that email and read it out in public, and then
Go ahead.
If I were you, I wouldn't be embarrassed, as I recall, but I had a few
Okay,
moments.
I'm not
okay,
embarrassed
hold on,
by it, sir,
hold on,
and I did
Kit,
not get
Kit,
an answer.
Kit, enough already, okay? John,
Let me answer her.
wonderful.
I was going to go back and answer her first question briefly.
Okay.
You asked about fiscal irresponsibility. Well, I don't think I called it that. But there are some things fiscally that I've been on record as being against. And one of them is we don't have a plan for a surplus. I can't even figure it out without Jim's help what our surplus is, and I'd like to grow it on, and we don't have a plan for that. When the bond refinancing happened 3 years ago, we took out another $900,000 that was not needed. Payments were still reduced, and there was reasons for that, but the $900,000 was used for road projects and other things. So it just tacked on another $900,000 onto the township debt. Those are just two things that just come to mind that I wouldn't call it irresponsible. It's just, I would be
You wouldn't fix the
disagreeing.
roads?
Excuse me?
Yeah, what do you do
Would
with
you
that?
not fix the roads?
No, I didn't say anything like that. We have money to fix the roads.
Do you remember the meetings when that was decided on?
No, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
because you weren't here.
Okay,
Oh, I was in the audience that night,
okay,
yes.
are we finished with this line of question?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm not going to for all of John, but you and I have some differences in how we recall things.
Okay. Sarah?
I'm sorry, it's on that same topic, but we had a budget planning meeting here. You guys had a special meeting maybe about a month ago. Jim talked about the approximately $1.2 million reserve, and the plan to put in was 160 or 80, depending on some contingency, but let's just round it at $100,000 in next year's budget addition into the reserve. And I believe you called that meeting, John, so I heard it. I'm sorry you didn't.
Really, Sarah, yeah, that's interesting, thank you.
Okay, that all, Sarah?
That's all, thank you.
Okay, no more comments? Oh, Tommy.
Can we move on from the election advertisements and then pushing? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we're going to be here, you know, we're going to be praying that Brian
If you didn't have this,
starts
if you
asking
didn't have this,
questions.
if you wouldn't have made this, if you wouldn't have your hand up, we'd be on to the next thing, Tommy. So.
Oh, I'm the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like get into, you know,
Go
election mode?
Face the corner for 5 minutes.
All right, yeah, I'll do
Okay,
that,
okay.
if we can move on.
Okay, you need to approve the minutes of the September 28th meeting.
I have a suggested correction. I think it was said that Mrs. Helms referred to something being done on her property, raising money. I think she was referring to the Baptist church. Is that what everybody else remembers too?
Yeah, that's right. Right, so Mrs. Helms, you're here, that's right.
Baptist Church?
Yeah, I was referring to
Yeah.
it, right,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. You make a motion with that change?
Make a motion to approve subject to that change.
Second.
Okay, any comments? Maria?
Thank you. Thank you for posting the draft minutes on the website. It was appreciative.
Okay, Brian?
I also will thank you for that. I have a question that came out of reading them. Did I get it answered, or should have that been in the prior part?
Say that again?
Reading the minutes, there's one phrase in here that I've got a question that, you know, there was no answer of how it turned out.
John, David, what do you think? I'd like to hear what it is.
This is an appropriate time, I think.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. In the meeting minutes, it said the board answered some questions, and Mr. Brown modified his motion to approve the invoice but hold the payment to D&L Construction the township receives until the township receives confirmation from the solicitor that the invoice can be paid. There was no further comment, the motion carried unanimously. My only question is, did the solicitor find that the contract was good and that it should be paid?
I believe the solicitor found that the payment should be made based on the fact that the work had been done. Steve, I don't know. Just quote you.
Correct.
It was a very limited statement.
Well, your statement's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye. Managers report?
A couple things I'd like to note. I'll try and keep this brief. The monthly planning commission meeting is scheduled for this coming Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Shredding services, I know it's also later on the agenda, shredding services will be available at the township office's parking lot, right outside, right behind me, this coming Saturday from 9:30 until noon. And other than that, the next regular scheduled board meeting is Monday, October 26th at 7:30 p.m.
Okay, road manager's report is next for September 2015. We conducted ongoing maintenance and repair on township equipment, filled in potholes in various roads, mowed several roads in the township. Worked with contractor to assist in sweeping of the roads. That was cleaning up the surplus stone after the oil and chip contract. We worked with a contractor to replace portions of damaged or of deteriorating curbing on the Snowcross subdivision. Met with the engineer and residents on Black Horse Road. Worked on Black Horse Road with township contractor. Cleaned up down trees at several places in the township and opened pipes and inlets at several places in the township. The active subdivision report shows that nothing needs action tonight. Bill's list is next. For October 12th, 2015, the general fund bills list is $99,022.65. The reimbursable bills list is $112,978.54. The subdivision utility plant bills list is $19,141.20, for a total of $231,142.39. And as of this bills list, bills that were paid and are on the ratified list are marked with a dot next to the description of the bill.
Move the bills list be approved as read out.
Second.
Any comment? Jane?
Why are we paying DL Construction when I see here that we're rebidding the contract, which obviously means that was null and void? Why are we paying them when the contract's void?
We're paying them because they did the work, and Pennsylvania law says if you do the work, you get paid for it.
Okay, Brian, you have your hand up, or Artie? I forget which one.
Go for Art first.
Okay, right.
PA Retirement Solutions Incorporated, they administer apparently pensions. Do they do all the pensions or just for the township workers, or what do they?
They manage the 457 plan, which is a defined contribution plan, which covers the non-uniform employees, although the police are allowed to participate. They do not cover the police pension plan, which is with PMRS.
Okay, and then I have a question on, I see down here Seal Master, Allentown, Seal Road Cracks. This is not the organization we had problems with the first time, right?
It is, and it's net of what we paid in claims.
In other words, what's listed here minus the claims money.
This is minus the claims money.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Brian?
Yes, we've got a bill from Barbara Kane Thornton for $1,100. It's not the end of the year audit season, and so what did we have Barbara Kane Thornton in for? We've not had a bill from Barbara Kane Thornton in non-audit season from 2012 through 2014.
This is for special services that the township asked for actually a long time ago, and this is just a delayed bill.
Okay, it's another one of those delayed bills.
Yes.
Okay, Birdsboro Materials, 2B Stone, what road was it used on?
Most of it has been used on Black Horse Road to bed the pipes under the driveways.
Okay. Card member services, we've got both the police and the township, the AED equipment maintenance. I'm guessing this is new batteries for them?
That's correct.
How often do they have to be replaced?
I'd have to look at the specifications. I think this is 2 or 3 years.
Okay, they sure are carbon zinc batteries, that's for sure.
They are an expensive battery, but again, when you need them, they need to work.
Absolutely. Jane asked about D&L Construction, and it almost sounds like we don't have a contract with them. Is that true, but they've done the work, so we've got to pay them? Is that true?
Certainly anything that they have done so far, we have to pay for. It's called quantum Merowith.
Okay, so when was it decided that we don't have a contract with them?
It hasn't been decided. It's on the agenda later in the meeting.
I'll let that one sit for right now. Morton Salt. Morton is not ocean forestry we've used before. Is there some reason why we changed salt suppliers?
It's called the state contract.
Okay, we're now using the state contract?
We have used the state contract, and we've also used a consortium of providers, and it depends who bids to the consortium and the state contract. We piggyback on what other people do.
Okay. Pipe Express, and it says it's Black Horse Road. What is this for, because it's not shown on the plan?
Just a minute, let me find the bill.
Pipe Express.
Page 3.
Okay. That's Pipe Express is plastic pipe, and that's pipe we have purchased but haven't installed. There's a cross pipe and a infiltration basin goes on the Route 100 end of the construction. We have the pipe there in anticipation of that. You know, here at the, not there, but here, you know, in the yard here.
Okay, but where is that on the plan that we're working to?
You have to look at the plan.
Well, I have looked at it, and I don't see plastic pipe.
Okay. Other questions, Brian?
Yes, that may come up next meeting. Rinker Materials, Black Horse Road, again, concrete pipes for $12,626.88. Do we have 3 telephone bids for this material?
They're on the state contract.
Rinker Materials is on a state contract?
Yes, I'm sure they are.
Okay. Also, how are we doing on the budget for the Black Horse Road paving? Are we going to hit the $75,000 number?
Yeah, I think we're going to hit it.
Are we going to exceed it?
I think we're going to be incrementally over it, yes.
Okay. Sienna Belloir McAndrew, I apologize, Steve, if I'm mangling that word, his last name. We're at, let's see, $2,940.25. I think this takes us to somewhere close to $21,000. Is the end in sight on this? Do we have anything else we're anticipating?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's got to be real close to being number.
Good. Last one here. Delaware Valley Health Trust, Bill Supervisor's Health Benefit, $901.40. This is for John Jacobs, correct?
Yes, per the request of Mrs. Jacobs at the last meeting.
Okay. And does he reimburse the township every month for that amount?
He does not. He reimbursed us at the start of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, other questions about the bills list? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have a quote from McGee Electric to repair township parking lot lights. Jim, can you go over that?
Yes, we actually have a walkway light that's been out. We ordered the bulbs for it. They're very unusual bulbs. We ordered the bulbs for it, and it's not a bulb issue. We had an electrician out to look at it. It appears that the ballast is not working. We also have 2 lights that are now out in the parking lot to troubleshoot and repair those. They're estimating $1,235. They've also given us a quote to replace the parking lot lights with LED lights and to also replace the lights along the walkway with LED lights. That will remove all the ballasts and remove what really is the source of many of the failures for these lights, which are the ballasts. So they've given us a quote to replace them with LEDs.
And that's $1,675.
That's correct.
So it's one or the other. It's not both together. Is that right?
That is a really, it's written as both together, but I believe it's one or the other.
Is there a calculation or a difference in electric usage with the LED versus the regular?
There is obviously much less use with LEDs, but again, we've not calculated that. The main reason for doing this is not for electric savings, although that's a nice benefit. The main reason for doing this is the current system that's there has ballasts which can go bad, and they are a good part of our problem.
Okay, what's your pleasure, David?
One other question, and the longevity on the LEDs.
As far as I know, it'll be after our lifetime.
They're talking a lot longer than
like
regular.
100,000 hours is what they're talking for these bulbs. Again, you know, whether or not they're going to reach that, I don't know. But they're talking, you know, far longer than the other type of bulbs that they're going to be replacing.
If there's only approximately a $450 difference between the 2 proposals, one using the LEDs has substantial benefits.
Well, and there's also the fact that the option 2, I just noticed, is they give a number, but it's really time and materials. They're
Right, it's
time and materials.
just an estimate, yep.
There's no limit. So I'd be inclined to favor option one.
I agree.
Okay, do you hear a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? George?
Option one is.
Oh, no, George Robinson, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Option one is the replace the
LEDs?
ballasts?
No, to replace
Option
the
one is
valves.
replace the lights.
Yeah, with
Okay.
LED lights.
LEDs.
Yeah. Fixtures stay the same, but the lighting system is
Okay,
different.
'cause I just replaced all my fluorescent lights in my barn with LEDs.
Okay. Way to
It's
go.
less than a third of the electrical use. Each unit's less than a third of the one it replaced in the lifetimes. It's supposed to be, I don't know, something like 35 years, 35 to 40 years.
Okay, thanks. George, Felchina?
The one thing about LEDs though is over time they'll lose about half their brightness.
How long, do you know?
I think when it's related to their stated life. So maybe when they say 100,000 hours, it'll be 50% of the brightness.
I believe it's correct.
Okay.
That's what I read on the data that I found.
So maybe it's worth it for the landlord to just replace them again.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. There's no other comment, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Brian Curry.
Did we do a cost-saving analysis to, Jim said that it'd be less energy being used. Do we have a payback period, or if we changed it over?
We did not do that calculation. The reason for the recommendation was not for that. The reason for the recommendation is because the current system uses ballasts, and there are issues and problems with the ballasts which cause the units to fail prematurely.
I understand that part, but the energy savings alone could be a reason to change over, is all I'm saying. It looks like we did look at it.
I think the motion is to change over, right? So that's sort of what an energy commission.
Yeah, the question is whether or not we're going to go with the LED changeover to the LED.
Is that what option one is?
Yes.
Yes.
Never mind then. Thank you.
Okay, then, no other comment, motion's made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
For the second time? Aye. Park and Recreation request to repair fields. Jim, you want to do that?
This is a recommendation that's been prepared by the Park and Recreation Commission. They proposed the following be done to the fields so that they will be in good shape for 2016. Till and edge the baseball field and fertilize the soccer field this fall for $1,000. Use turf blankets on the soccer field and baseball fields as needed this fall. Those would cost between $200 and $350 each, depending on size. The estimate is 3 total would be needed, and I'd like this to be reevaluated in November. Seasonal maintenance is $100 an hour. Fertilizing the soccer field is $400. And seeding of the soccer field might fall after the first frost, and we still need to get a price on that. The proposal is that the cost of this would come out of the capital fund, which is collected from the teams which use the field.
I've got a couple of questions. Forgive me, what is the turf blanket?
Turf blanket is a tarp, for better words, that's installed over the field in the fall. What it does is it accomplishes a couple of things. One is it keeps the field from being used, because no matter what you do, you can put signs up, whatever, but there's no real effective barrier to using the field. This is really an effective barrier to using the field. Another reason for using them is that they assist the grass in growing back. I'm not quite sure how, because I haven't dealt with the people that come out and talk to us about that, but in fact, we've had several people out that have talked to us about them. Upper Euclid uses them on their fields. If you look at their fields during the winter, you will see that they have, for a better word, white tarps on their fields. and they are what are called turf blankets.
Your explanation has been good enough, I just had no idea what they meant.
Right.
Why I'm answering the question, there's an item for $100 an hour for seasonal maintenance, what would that be, if fertilizing and other things are mentioned?
I'm not,
What we explain.
not,
The baseball field needs weeding on the infield
Edging
during
and
the
stuff like
summer.
that?
And that's $100 an hour.
So that's not a firm, $100 an hour is a firm price, but we don't know.
Correct, depending on how much weeds grow and it's always difficult to get somebody actually that will do that maintenance.
right, because of concerns with the use of herbicides, you know, that work has been done by machine and by hand.
Okay, so do we need to take action on this tonight?
I think this is a recommendation from Park and Rec, and I think they would like you to take action on it.
And this would come out of their, the capital fund, it's not coming out of the general fund.
That's correct.
I move we approve the Park and Recreation recommendation.
Second, this is in the budget too, Jim?
It will be. There is still some money in the park, well, no, actually, it's not, this is sort of like extra budget. If this is all coming out of the capital fund, that's something which is not captured by the budget.
And there's sufficient balance in the fund to cover it.
Okay. Any other comments? You second the motion?
I did.
Okay, the motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have a request to use the meeting room on October 28th from Green Valley Association. Oh, we already did the shredding event, or didn't we?
Yeah,
Oh, we can-
Jim mentioned it, but.
I can mention it again, which is this Saturday from 9:30 to noon. Pro Shred, security will be here to shred. The only thing we ask is that there be no businesses, please. It is free.
Okay, then the request to use the meeting room on October 28th in Green Valleys. I would like to use the room for a presentation from 12:30 to 2 p.m. This is from Vicki Lawlock, Executive Director.
I assume we have no conflict. I move we approve.
Second.
Any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have a thank you letter from Don Rosado to the police department for help during the Lois Corner Horse Show. Just addressed to Chief Swinninger, thanking him for the help that the police gave to the trail, or the drivers, the wagon rides, sporting hands. From Don. Okay, under old business, we need to consider authorizing advertising for labor and equipment bid.
This is just redoing what we did before.
I guess, Steve, is that what it is?
We're redoing it with the requirement of the performance bond at 10% of the estimated cost to be incurred.
And that in this contract is $320,000 or something like that?
The entire estimate for the work, yes, the bond, I believe, is $32,455.
Okay. David or John, any comments or consideration?
No, I move that we authorize advertising of the bids.
Second.
Any comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Page 2, so in paragraph 10, Jim, it refers to 10%.
Yeah.
Do we want to be specific as to the amount then?
Actually, I don't think we can be because we don't know the hourly rates yet.
We don't have the amount of time for the bids.
Yeah, 10% of.
10% of.
I get what he's saying. The
we
total
can-
of all 15 items times the
Yeah,
hourly use?
we can make that more specific.
I think we're going to have to. I don't know you're going to get conforming bids, so
Right.
I would just make that change.
Okay.
I will accept that change to motion.
Okay, comments? Brian?
Is this going to be include for construction work, which will be covered by prevailing wage?
Jim?
No.
So this is just for maintenance work, not construction work, and does not include prevailing wage work?
This is for equipment rental, and I don't believe this is for prevailing wage, no.
That would be a change from the prior advertisements.
I may have misspoken. This will be the same as what we went out to bid with before, except for the change to item 10. So if it is with respect to prevailing wage, then that hasn't changed.
The newspaper advertisements in the past have said that they are for maintenance work. But construction may be involved in which prevailing wage rates have to be paid. And in response to a question earlier, in probably a year or two ago, Ken said, we take prevailing wage bids here. And so is it just maintenance, or does it include prevailing wage work?
I think, Brian, I think you're right. I think if you read through this, that we do require prevailing rate on the bids.
Well, okay, and
I've read the contract for a couple of years, but I'm sure I mean, that's how I understand it.
well, I'm reading the advertisement because the MS 970 really doesn't say anything about it. And the question comes up because when we've gone out and bid stuff, and it has been prevailing wage work, we have included the prevailing wage rates as part of the bid. And yet, in the last couple of years, the paperwork that goes with it has not included those prevailing wage rates, which I'm guessing, because I'm not a contractor, that they need to go and figure out, okay, if I've got to pay this guy to go and operate this piece of equipment at prevailing wage, then I've got to go and bid based on that. So that's, are we going to include that as we do when we bid where it's distinctly prevailing wage?
We can.
Is the prevailing labor rate, is it about $58 and some change?
It all depends upon the work.
They have pages and pages of information, John.
Okay, so
And it applies to some work and it doesn't apply to some other work. But to the extent it might be covered, and this will include the prevailing wage rates in the bid materials.
okay, well, can that change be made to the motion, or
It's just
without making another motion?
it's just an attachment to the bid materials. It doesn't. It's not. It wouldn't change the motion.
Okay. Brian?
Also, in the prior documents that have been put out, I want to say it's column or it's item H, it always says like pound value, which is an error symbol in the Excel spreadsheets because you're using a word in an earlier column, and when you try to multiply by words, it doesn't work right. Could that be corrected so that the column ends up being blank, and thus the instructions to bidders is kind of obvious where it says, fill in all these blanks, E through H, that 8 doesn't have something in it, so I better fill it out.
Well, if you don't want the words up to, that's why it's that way. I've been told to put up to in the bid. You don't guarantee a number of hours, that's what I've been told.
You hear that, Brian?
Well, so the question then is, how do you get a blank value in that column? Because it's supposed to be
Don't
filled
ask
out
me.
by the bidder.
It is filled out by the bidder, and what they do is they white it out and they fill it in. That's what they do.
most recent contract that I have, they didn't do that.
Well, the most recent one I've seen, they did.
Okay, Brian?
So I was just assured that it's filled out. Okay.
Any other comments? Jane, sorry, I saw your hand up.
Excuse me, why are we rebidding if the contract is not null and void?
Steve?
What was the question, Jane?
Why are we rebidding?
If the contract's not null and void.
No, the contract is void. Null, no. Void, yes.
Okay.
And so we are rebidding it.
So why has DNL Construction been out working for the last 2 weeks if we have a void contract?
Because this is the first meeting that the board's had following that determination, which was made in the interim, and tonight's the night to take action on that.
So when will their contract become active?
That's the next item on the agenda.
Does that answer your question, Jane?
I think so.
Okay. Marie or Brian, I don't know who was first.
I'm going. Just a question, because I don't think I quite understand what's going on with the contract and the difference between null and void, and when the work was done, did they have a contract? Could you just give us a little more information, because I'm really confused with the exchange that's occurring. David Brown, I think, said that the work was paid, never really said whether the contract was void or not void. Tell us what's going on, please.
Steve?
I'm going to yield to the solicitor on that.
Under state law, the contract is void because they didn't put the performance bond up within the prescribed time.
And when was it, when did we determine that it was void?
Well, our office determined that it was void between the last meeting and, I think it was last Monday.
So the last meeting was the 28th of September, I believe. So a week later, you're saying you determined that it was void?
That's correct.
And that was what, like October 5th, thank you. So when your office determined it was void, that's when the supervisors were told that it was void?
And in about that time frame, yes.
All right, so work can still continue though, correct?
Work has continued to my knowledge. I think
I guess that's the part that I didn't think we're trying to get understood, is contract's void, everybody is aware of it, work continues. How's that happen? Just need to know, how does that happen?
Well, I think, practically speaking, this is the first meeting after that determination was made. The only other way to have dealt with it, which the board did not opt to do, was to call a special meeting to take action relative to that contract.
But
So tonight,
they would make a call, somebody might make a call to continue work without a contract. How does that happen without a board decision?
We did an executive session, Maria, as you know.
No, I don't know. No, when was there an executive session? Was on the 28th of, no, I'm sorry, on September 28th was the last time you announced an executive session, so please tell me, when was there an executive
I
session?
think it's going to become clear under the next item.
Well, why can't it become clear now?
Yeah, we had an executive session last Monday night.
What's that?
We had an executive session last Monday night.
That was well, I don't know, you didn't announce that one, did
That's
you?
what August.
Because it's not in the agenda, it's not, so that's what I don't, that's, I'm going by what was handed to us tonight.
Regular executive session. That's the one.
Well, we had one last Monday night.
That's the regular executive.
And the decision was that if the solicitor determined, as he did, they did, that the contract was void, question, did we stop work right then, leaving the job site in the middle of the construction or whatever was being done? Was that safe? Was that in the public interest? No. So we decided we will rebid the contract. Meanwhile, the contractor is going to go ahead and avoid having the site sit there and be dangerous. That's the decision.
Was it dangerous?
No.
I just, because that's an answer, I just am curious, from the people living on the street, was it dangerous? And was that a case that you felt that if they stopped until we did it properly?
We found differently.
At that executive session, I asked if that we were to continue work, and the decision was to continue work, and on Wednesday, I sent an email to Jim asking that if we were to continuing work, and I said, let me know if there's a negative reply, I will stop work, and I never got a reply, which meant to me that we continued, which we did. Mike.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Brian was first, I'm sorry,
okay.
but let Mike have the floor if that's okay.
Thank Maria for answering some of my questions, but something popped up here. You say you decided this in executive session. My understanding is executive sessions are for personnel, real estate, and litigation. How does a contract matter come up to be litigation?
Actually, there was no decision made during the executive session. I'm going to correct it, because what happened was they were given the advice, the legal advice on the status of the contract, and for any action to have been taken, they would have had to have been taken at a board meeting. So no action was taken.
So now I'm confused again, because I thought you just said that it was decided in executive session.
I think what David was recounting was a lot of things that were discussed that could happen, but the fact of the matter is, for any action to have been taken, it would have had to have been taken at a meeting, and no action was taken. So that contract continues along through today.
So the contract that was void.
The contract that is void, they're continuing to operate under that contract. The
Is that
contractor
in the
is.
township best interest? That's, we talk about
That's
safety
in-
issues. Is that in the township's best interest to continue a contract that is void knowingly?
Well, there was a lot of discussion on that issue, but I'm not going to go into that now. And I think David was referring to some of that discussion and the weighing and balancing that would go on. But no action was taken, and no action has been taken on that contract because it's the next agenda item.
So you're delaying this. Good job.
No, we're not delaying it. Let's see, in order to take action, we would have had to call a special meeting, and we would have had to advertise that meeting, and we probably end up right here tonight.
Okay. Mike, Brian, are you finished? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, Mike, sorry about that.
Steve, when does the contract become void? Or when did this contract become void?
It became void by virtue of the failure to supply the performance bond within the prescribed time, and I forget the date. If you're looking for a date.
20 days after.
20 days after.
Okay, Mike.
Yep.
Hey, Jane.
So, like Maria said, how is that in the best interest of the township? And let alone, how is that in the best interest of the residents? There's no contract. How are we protected in any of this?
I can tell you what my decision was based on. I won't speak for anyone else. My feeling, and that is that as far as I know, we've got an open construction site, and it needs to be closed up. That was my understanding, and that's why my feeling is that the work should continue until we can replace the contract.
Let's back up. We had a contract that was void because of a failure to supply a performance bond within a prescribed time. The performance bond was subsequently supplied and was in place.
An insufficient bond?
Yes.
But it was
No, it's
void.
actually for $32,440, the bond is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wasn't the contract void before the work started?
Yes.
Okay.
But that determination wasn't made until last week.
No, I think, well, it was pretty much determined on the 28th when it was brought up, that the performance bond had to be there within 20 days, and at that point, we definitely knew that it wasn't 20 days. At the
Well,
last
I
meeting-
didn't know, as you recall, I didn't know anything. Because John asked me, and I said, I haven't seen document one as of the last board meeting.
The supervisors knew at that point.
I'm not sure what they knew.
But they knew the contract date, and or when it was awarded, they knew that 20 days, they did not receive the bond. It was past that time, at the time. that we
I
had
think
the
you're
last
telling
meeting.
them what they knew. I don't know that
Yeah,
they
well,
know that, so I'm just
Everybody
saying.
here seemed to know, but, okay.
Okay, Sue?
Was the bond paid according to the letter sent out by the township to the contractor? Was it paid in accordance with what that letter was that was sent to that contractor, or not?
Was it put up in accordance with that letter?
Yes,
No,
it wasn't?
no, it's late.
I think Brian was before Jane, but if you want to defer, Jane already had the floor.
I'll defer to Jane.
Okay, Jane.
When did we get a $32,000 bond?
I saw it. You have it here?
I have it here. The bond date is September 15th, 2015.
Because the copy I was supplied with, which was also dated September 15th, was a $10,000 bond.
Right. I understand that, but there was a problem with the bond amount, and that was replaced by the bond issuer with one for $32,455.00.
Could I please be supplied with a copy of that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Jane, right now?
That's it for now.
Okay, Brian?
When was that bond received?
We'll have to look. I don't know off the top of my head.
I thought you just said that the bond was in your hand.
It is, but it doesn't say when it was received. It's not stamped.
It's not stamped.
No, I don't, there's not, you don't stamp bonds. So I'm gonna have to look and see if there's other documentation which indicate when we received it.
You're saying that you don't stamp bonds, is that correct?
If we don't stamp bonds, no.
So then the bond that you presented to me in response to a right to know, which did have a stamp on it, received by, for last year, is somehow a aberration?
Yes, that should have been stamped. I don't want the bond stamped because if we have to present them, I don't want a question raised as to what that means.
Okay, Brian?
The other thing about this is, we've got a case where the law says you've got to have a bond in your hand by 20 days. Who is responsible for checking that all the conditions of the contract have been met before we turn the contractor loose to do work?
Township staff.
The nebulous township staff.
Well, Brian, the buck always stops here with me, Brian. The township staff.
Other questions, Brian?
That's it?
James, you have a question? Okay. Other comments? Okay, motions been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is Black Horse Road repair, so we're right back in it. Jim, or do you want to go over this?
Yeah, what we've done is that we've gone out and solicited Vincent contractors for finishing up the work. We have a bid from D&L paving and excavating for the grading work, in the amount of $10,275. We had two bids for the milling work, one from Rotamill Inc. in the amount of $5,400, one from Martin Paving in the amount of $5,805. And for the paving, we had three bids, one from D&L Paving and Excavating for $10,845, one from Martin Paving in the amount of $13,905, and one from D. Malloy Paving Inc. in the amount of $18,500. So the recommendation is to finish the project and to have D&L do the grading, have Rotamill do the milling, and have the paving done also by D&L.
Need a motion to that effect?
Please.
So
And-
moved.
Well, I think, there's also a second motion which I guess Steve will come up on that. as-
Well, I think that it could be incorporated in that, which is to,
Void the.
well, the contract is void, but to notify D&L Fleck that the contract is void and that no further work be done under that contract.
Correct.
I accept the amendment.
Second.
Okay, so what does that say exactly, Steve, from the beginning to the end?
Notify D&L Fleck that the contract is void for failure post a performance bond in a timely manner, and that no further work is to be performed pursuant to that contract on Black Horse Road.
Okay, and then the same motion, we're approving this?
No, I would do a second. I would do, this is the second motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted the other one to precede this because it seems we have to terminate the existing contract and then.
Okay, well then, I guess we're going to be voting on the motion to terminate Flex contract. Is that right? Is that right, Steve?
I would do that first, yes.
Should we have a date of that contract for the motion?
In terms of when it's terminated?
No, which contract we're terminating?
That would be the maintenance contract.
Labor equipment.
Yeah, labor equipment.
Labor equipment bid.
For a date, because there's going to be two of them that are almost
Right, well,
identical.
We can,
Except for the
It's
dates.
July, the first one was done in July 20 something. I didn't have that in your book.
But the effective date for the termination would be today.
correct.
Correct.
So are you clear on what we're voting on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. You made the motion, did you second it, John?
Yes.
Okay, any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next motion.
Move that we approve the low bid, DNL paving and excavating, $10,275 for grading. Rotomill Inc., $5,400 for milling. DNL paving and excavating, $10,845 paid.
Second.
Anything to add to that one, Steve?
No.
Okay, any comment? Jane?
Why don't we get one company to do everything? Like previously, you had said Martin Paving was going to do the milling and the paving.
Right.
Why are we getting bits and pieces from different companies?
Martin can't honor the written estimate they gave us because we missed their time frame. It was for the last 2 weeks in August.
But there isn't a company that would do everything, so that we would be covered under one bond.
You called Charlestown Paving about doing that, didn't you? Is that right, Jim?
I didn't. I think the office did call Charlestown, yes.
Okay, and they didn't have time, I think that's what he said. So,
There were many companies who didn't have time this time.
okay.
And this is still going to happen this year?
Yes, the road and mill scheduled from the 21st to mill. So, Sue, you have a question?
So you're saying because of the delays over the last couple of months, that's why we lost an opportunity with Martin Paving, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come to terms with piecemealing it together to get the best effective project pulled together when nobody else is available to do it?
Well, I'm confident that the job's going to be done the right way. It's going to be overseen by the township engineer every step of the way. So, it's, I think we owe it to the residents to get this project done this year.
It's too bad there were delays in the first part of the project. It would have probably been completed then.
Well, one thing I learned in all my time as supervisor about the first month that I was supervisor was that township government and delays are the same thing. So motion's made second, there's no more comment, all those in favor?
Hold on.
Oh, Brian, I'm sorry. I can't see your arm when you raise it there, it's same color as the...
I'll try to sit in a different place next time.
Okay.
You said it's going to be done by DNL Paving and Excavation, correct?
Jim?
That's what it says here.
Yes.
Okay, who are they? And the reason I say that is I think gets void contract was DNL Construction LLC. Is that the same thing as DNL Paving and Excavation? And then there's also DNL something or other incorporated, and then there's also Fleck Construction floating around in here too. There's too many companies all with the same name. Are we talking different companies or the same company?
It's my understanding it's a different company.
So it, D&L Paving and Excavation is a different company?
I believe so, I believe that's correct.
Who are the principals of D&L Paving and Excavation?
Do we know that?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't have that information here.
Do we expect these people will be able to provide insurance certificates that protects the township?
Yes.
And this includes workman's compensation if they have employees?
This will include workers' compensation if it's required by law, yes.
Okay.
More questions, Brian?
I'll be looking up who D&L Paving and Excavation is, but I don't think you can answer that.
I asked for questions. You have any more questions, Brian?
Nope.
Okay. Jane, anything else?
Yeah, I have some questions, since we're on Black Horse Road.
Is it about this contract?
It's not about the
And
contract.
Can we
We're done
vote on
with the
that and then go?
contract. Go ahead with the
Okay,
contract.
okay, the motion's made and seconded, if there's no further comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jane.
All right, this evening I got home, and now that I have swales halfway down my property, which wasn't part of the engineering plan that I was showed. The swale was supposed to stop just previous to the tree that was taken down a few weeks ago, and it goes way beyond that. And once again, I haven't been notified about something that's being done in front of my property. Is there a new engineering plan that I haven't been informed about? If so, where is that plan?
Is this original plan that we were provided with that we followed?
This swale is going way beyond that.
Okay, the township engineers on-site man laid it out for us. So we just followed the engineer plan.
When was I going to be notified of that?
I don't know.
Are there more changes that I haven't been told about?
I don't know of any, no.
Are the swales going beyond where they went today?
On your property, no.
And then Jim contacted me to see where I wanted my dirt,
Yes,
and I did reply, but my dirt,
it's in a pile out here with your name on it, actually.
okay,
So just tell us where you want it.
next to the wood chips.
Okay, what's underneath your lawn there?
What's underneath the lawn?
Yeah, is it, because the trucks are going to be heavy backing up through there, we don't want to
Oh,
crush
okay,
anything.
I got you. Yeah, you can leave it down further, alongside the woods then.
Okay, can you put a stake or something so we know where to
Sure.
go? Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, can I just continue a little bit here? Last meeting, we talked some about insurance, and I was told that D&L Construction works as a sole prop and a family business, and therefore didn't require workman's comp. I checked with my insurance people, and they're telling me that a sole prop, the only person who does not require the workman's comp is Mr. Fleck himself. Anybody else would require workman's comp or an individual certificate of liability. So when we get this new contract, are we going to have those in place?
Somebody want to answer this?
We will have whatever's required by the law.
Well, I don't think that's quite an answer, Jim, because last week you said that that wasn't required. So is it now required? Are we saying now that that is required?
I'm not saying that it's required, but, you know.
In fact, my insurance people have told me that I should be asking for something from you in writing that says that I will not be held liable for anything that happens, even if it's in your right-of-way, at my place.
Could have your insurance agent contact Jim tomorrow?
Yes,
I will.
please.
Okay.
Everyone advised don't usually offer insurance certificates to residents for work that's done.
Okay, Jim, you have another question?
I think that's it for now.
Okay, Fellowship Trail is the next item on the agenda. I know we've had this on and off because it's been a long time coming, but I'd like the board to consider a motion to direct the engineer to get the bid-ready documents prepared, so that when we are ready to go, there's not, it's a small delay as can be possible.
And this, Ken, this would be along through the right-of-way, the state right-of-way, is that right?
Yes, yeah, and on township property and on West Vincent Land Trust property. Yes.
Didn't we already authorize that?
Not to get ready to go out to bid,
We
no.
authorize the final engineering survey and all that, so this would be the next step, if that's what we want to do.
I move that we put that out to bid.
Well, we're preparing bid docs, right?
Yeah, not out until getting ready to go.
Yeah,
Determined, so.
I second that motion.
Any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
I want to just say thank you.
Wait till it's done.
Well, but this, preparing the bid documents, then you have to approve them before they go out, or
Right, yeah.
how long does that process take?
Depends how long it takes the engineer to get them ready. Depends if they then suit what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's nothing in the scheme of things of how long it's taken to get to this point, so I just want to say thank you. I'm glad we're finally at this point.
Well, I said, before we say thank you, wait until it's finished.
Jim, we talked a couple of weeks ago about where that status, where's the status with Upper Euclid? Did you get any more information from them?
No.
Do we expect any?
We're forever hopeful. But I think this'll help move it along.
What I would like to do is so that when the final okay comes, we're ready to roll. Because it'll be this time next year if we're not careful. It won't be done. So.
And that whole stretch of the trail is on the Upper Euclid Trails map that was published in 2005. And they sent it over to us. I think the EAC got it first as part of the looking at parks at the time. But Upper Euclid sent us their trail map to say, we're hoping to have these connections with West Vincent. So
Right.
I'm really surprised that we haven't heard from them, but I think we have their de facto approval because we've got their map and it's still up on their website saying there's going to be a trail there, so.
Well, they're busy too. A lot going on up here, doing the same as there is here. Okay, George, Delchino.
So can we just review where, so it runs from Weatherstone along
Fellowship Road.
Fellowship Road, along where the sewage plant is, on the edge of where the sewage plant is, on the grass there, on that side?
Between the building and Fellowship Road.
Right,
Yeah.
and then it crosses Fellowship Road?
Yep.
And then it runs down the...
Well, there's an existing trail at the new church property.
Okay, and then that ends at the church, is that?
Yeah, that ends
That's
at-
where you have to go, that's the Upper
Yeah.
Euclid at that point?
No, it's Upper Euclid actually before we cross Fellowship Road.
Right, but where it ends is currently in Upper Euclid?
Yes, yeah.
And then that is gonna, then it's gonna move to the right of way of the
Yes.
road?
Yeah.
And that just that part isn't approved yet?
No, Upper Euclid, that's the only part of Upper Euclid that they have authority over, because we own the property in Upper Euclid. The rest of it we've been doing, other than the road crossing, but they've already said they have no problem.
So then it'll be somewhere along the right of way, and then when it comes back into the field?
Into the park, you mean?
Into the park, yeah.
Yeah, then it curves around and hooks up to follows the contour around and hooks up to the existing walking trail.
Okay, and that piece, I guess, even on that side of the church is in Upper Euclid? On the edge of the existing field?
Yeah, it is, yeah, yeah.
So that whole section needs Upper Euclid approval, is that?
Not part of our property, no.
It's just a part of the front of the church?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's something that they have to adopt a resolution for or something?
I think that's right, isn't it, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and they've been working along with it, it's just that, it's not on their front burner, so. Okay, other comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have non-uniform pension plan contribution. Jim?
In early October, we received our state pension money for the pension plans. One of the things you did tonight when you approved the bills list is approve the payment to PMRS of the MMO, the minimum municipal obligation for the police pension plan. We have an agreement with ASME, which has a base contribution to the township non-uniform employees covered by ACME of 5%. What I've done is given you what the total contribution would be for all non-police workers who are eligible at 5%. That works out to a total contribution of $33,012.81. State funding covers $26,460.36 of that, so the total township contribution to any pension plan for the year 2015 would be $6,552.45. And this would mean a 5% base contribution to the non-uniform employees.
So do we need to take action on this?
You need to approve it.
Move approval of the contribution to the 5% as outlined.
Okay, John?
I'm sorry, I was.
Okay, motion was made to approve that 6552. Okay, second. Any comment? Maria?
Who are the non-union employees that would be covered under this?
What's that?
Who are the people, you said these are non-uniform employees, so is that everyone else?
No, it does not cover certain part-time workers.
Does it cover any part-time workers?
Yes.
Could you give us a list of the employees that are covered under? It's really just.
I'm covered, that's what you want to get at.
Well,
yeah,
does the
you
board
were
want me
not
to read the list of
Nothing
covered
vote.
employees? I mean, I don't think it's a confidentiality problem. I can read the list if the board is okay with it. Jason Barron, Sandra Cantrell Edwards, Kevin Freeze, Danielle Hewitt, Mike Hoga, Mark Hughes, Steve Hughes, Ruth McVeigh, Kenneth Miller, Richard Reichel, Tammy Swavely, and myself.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we pass the motion?
No. They did vote.
No more comments? All those in favor? Aye.
I'm just kidding, how can you vote, Ken, if it's for yourself?
Guess you're right. Well, let's do that motion again then.
I can make a motion to rescind that.
Congressman voted
No,
for
the
it.
motion was,
George?
I don't think you rescinded the
Don't the
motion.
don't state legislators vote for their pensions?
Oh, George.
So we're
Yeah.
doing the same issue?
I'm not on that exalted level though.
Well, I understand that, we're at a lower level, but it's the same issue. The township commission, the county supervisor did the same.
No, Maria has a point. Do we make a motion to undo the last motion?
No, because I think.
Change your vote to abstain.
Yes.
Okay, then I'll change my vote to abstain. Glad you brought that up, because you're right.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is purchase of backhoe. Jim, you have the pricing, is that right?
Yes. We had budgeted to purchase a backhoe over time in this year's budget. The road department has evaluated 3 backhoes. The John Deere backhoe from Plaster Equipment Company, the Case backhoe from Groff Tractor, and the Caterpillar backhoe from Ransom Cat. Pricing is under the state contract. The lowest price and the acceptable backhoe is the John Deere, which is for a total of $131,448. What we'd like to do is finance that. Typical financing is over 4 years with first payment in advance. By my calculation, it's in the neighborhood of $28,000 a year. And this would replace a backhoe which I believe is 17 years old.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And which is showing the effect
Not so reliable anymore.
showing the effect of salt and wear and tear on the unit.
So, you're going to consider a motion to purchase a backhoe tonight?
So I guess it's, we're voting on the resolution.
Can I ask you a question before we do that? No. Jim, you said there was some 4-year financing, and it would be roughly $29,000 a year?
That's correct.
4 years times, if I round it up to 30, comes out to 120, and your figures show 131,000.
Right.
That's the financing number?
Yeah, it's the financing number, well, hold on a second.
First payment in advance.
Yeah, what I figured is, based upon what we paid for the John Deere mowing tractor, that the payment would be approximately $28,807.37. And it would be the first payment, one payment in advance, and then 4 payments after that. And the approximate cost of doing it over time is approximately $10,000.
So the first payment in advance, Jim, is the same as the other 4?
That's correct.
Thank you.
I would move the purchase of the 2015 JD 410L backhoe loader, Blaster Equipment Company, Inc., the amount of $131,448. Does that include the financing?
That does not. That's just the base price.
Okay. Plus the finance charges necessary to pay it off over 4 years.
I'll second the motion.
Before we finalize this motion, we could pay it off, we could not finance it.
Well,
We have enough cash reserve. We're far enough ahead on income this year to do it with no problem. So
I would be in favor of that. I was going to vote no to the financing aspect of it.
So I didn't know what you guys wanted to do. It's up to you. I'd rather pay for it too, but. So,
I'm not committed one way or the other, so that's fine.
Okay.
Pay cash. Amend the motion to show that we're going to pay cash for it.
You got it in the budget?
Not for cash.
No, but I mean, can you cover it in the budget?
In terms of moving money.
Do we have enough money to pay for it?
Well, we have enough cash to pay for it. That's not the issue. In terms of when you say the budget, I mean, this would be far beyond what I budgeted for it, so.
I realize that, but his income could also be higher than was anticipated.
Yes, and currently, income is higher and expenses have been lower than anticipated.
Okay, George Robinson.
You said 2015 backhoe?
Yes.
You meant 2016 perhaps?
No.
Why would we be buying the last model? 2016's are what's in the shop now.
You have to ask Kevin, who's sitting next to you. He's the one that did.
2016.
What's that?
This is 2016.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It is 16?
Mm-hmm. Okay, it says 2015 here.
Okay, typo.
I thought it was 2016.
I think it is.
Just in writing, it must be true, right? Just like the internet. So then we're going to consider paying cash for it? Is that right? That's a decision.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that motion's made.
Cash 2016.
Okay, you second already? Sorry.
Yes, second.
Okay, all those, any comments? James?
I'm sure Tammy being so good at recording minutes will include this, but I just hope it's reflected in there that the supervisors were aware that it's not in the budget, but because of the likely projections of income, that it was the best decision to exceed the budget based on that, or worse that effect. In other words, we've seen how numbers have been twisted to make it look as though the budget was ignored. In this case, the budget was considered, and because of the financial situation, the best decision was to pay the cash in full.
Okay. Brian, have your hand up.
What's going to happen to the old backhoe? Is it going to still remain a thing? We're going to sell it on? It's going to go to scrap metal?
We're going to wait till we get the new one in and put it on municipal.
Okay.
Which is, you familiar with municipal?
It's circled through the meetings at times, so yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's an online auction for people who don't know. So, any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 15 is a resolution to govern tree removal. This is one thing that we don't have. Are we considering this for a vote tonight, John and David?
Well, if you give me a minute, but I have not read it.
Okay. You want to take the time now, or you want to,
Well, why don't we defer it
let's,
till the next meeting?
what do you think, Steve? Is that okay?
What was his comment?
Defer to the next meeting?
I think defer to the next meeting. Live without it for this long, we can live without it until another 2 weeks.
Okay, well, this draft resolution is up on the website now? Okay.
Is it in regards to all trees or particular trees?
No, trees in the public right of way.
Okay, thank you.
No, and beyond that, any tree over, with a diameter in excess of 6 inches.
So we're going to regulate all trees over 6 inches in diameter? regardless?
No, we're going to give notice to property owners by either attempting to provide written or verbal, and we're going to conspicuously mark the trees before taking them down.
Just in the right of ways?
Just in the right.
So
For
this
the township taking them down, not the residents taking them down?
That's correct.
So it's municipal removal of trees, is what we're talking
It's
about.
strictly by statute, yeah. We're following the statute.
Okay.
With one exception, we have a proposed provision that says that we will not fine ourselves in the event that,
And it's okay with me if you cut the ones that are about to fall off the road.
well, I think as was pointed out in the prior meeting, it's a summary offense if you, for anyone who violates this, and there is an obligation, I guess, to have that person pay into the general fund a undetermined amount, and we're opting out of that. Since it makes no sense. It would only make sense as to a third party. It doesn't make sense as to municipality.
So this draft resolution will go up on the website. We'll consider it at the next meeting. Mrs. Thomas?
Will this also include trimming of trees, like limbs over 6 inches?
It doesn't refer to that directly, but I think it should.
I couldn't quite hear that.
I think so too.
Mrs. Helms wanted to know that it would also include trimming of trees removable over 6 inches. And then also, except in emergencies.
Right,
that-
electricity's
that
down,
everything's-
whatever.
Yeah, or there's a tree breaking or imminent danger or stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay, George?
Is there anything in there about where Pico or
No, this is township, this is township only.
just Township? So
Yeah.
if Pico comes through and clear cuts as they are allowed to do,
Right.
it has nothing to do?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay, last thing on the agenda, it's not on the agenda, but I'm going to bring it up, and it has to do with trees. And it comes from something that Mrs. Helms actually brought up a while ago. And that is that, I don't know if John and David, you think we ought to think about forming a shade tree commission to have more township control over these trees. Because honestly, as township roadmaster, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, my job is to look out for the health, safety, and welfare, but I don't want to cause problems by cutting a tree that shouldn't be cut without proper notice. And I know that we have many developments now that have more and more trees along the streets, and we need some kind of way to develop a policy to handle on those. And I know that we've been successful before in having a committee do it, residents be involved in it, and come up with a policy, I guess. So I don't know what you guys think about that or not.
I kind of like the idea. Steve, is the Shade Tree Commission, is that dealt with in the second-class township code?
Yes, it is, Article 29.
And are the powers of that commission delineated in that statute? Powers and duty?
There's a general power which gives them exclusive control of the shade trees in the township and authorization to plant, remove, maintain, and protect shade trees on the public streets and highways in the township, excluding the state. And then there's some other language on removal of diseased and dangerous.
That's going to be a slippery slope.
Huh?
That could be a slippery slope as they get more developed, you have the more developed areas.
You don't even know what slippery slopes is till you stand where I stand on it.
I understand your concern, but I'm just concerned with.
I mean, there's no direction. It's all like objective. It's
Yeah.
not objective, it's subjective each tree at a time. It's not working out. I mean, Yeah, we can see that, I see.
Geez,
it.
here's a slippery slope for you. The cost of cutting and removal of trees by the township shall be charged to the property owner. The charge shall be a lien against the real estate of the property owner and shall be collected in the same manner as other municipalities, so.
Well, is that mandated by Safety Commission?
I'm just saying it's in there. So we'll have to work
It's
through
going to
it.
take some study.
Okay, Francis.
I brought this up last winter. There are people who plant evergreens right along the edge of their property line, and when they grow out, they shade the existing roads. And I really do think that this is something that should be discouraged, because it's really a hazard. Between the pine needles that fall and the growth along the road roads are shaded in the wintertime because of the overgrowth, and they are creating a danger to the people who use a public road by doing that type of hedgerow. And maybe they could, if they put it closer to their own property, so it wouldn't overgrow the road. Would you consider putting this as something that we would encourage property owners not to do?
Well, I don't know if that falls within the purview of Shade Tree Commission, because Shade Tree Commission deals with trees in the right of way, is that right, public right of way? Correct. Yeah.
Well, then how do you deal with, there are a couple roads around here that are dangerous because of these big, huge evergreens that are shading the road. Can a township come in and just hack off the branches so the road wouldn't be shaded?
Not for shade, no. I don't think that would be possible, I don't think that'd be legal.
Yeah. Some places are.
I mean, you take a road like Davis Lane, it's 90% shaded all the time, so where do we
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, between Harriet's house and my hillside or whatever, we've got a lot of things shaded that I really hate to have you.
The idea of a Shade Tree Commission is to regulate the cutting and maintenance of trees, not to encourage it, Francis.
Right, but no, what I'm saying is, why should we encourage something that's dangerous?
Well, you can step on private property owners' rights and say you can't plant a tree within 100 feet of the road, but that's not legal either. That would solve that problem.
But I thought the township had rights from the center of the road onto the property, onto the adjoining property. So if that tree is in the right-of-way of the township, why can't the township do something about it?
I'd rather not get into it tonight, Francis. It'd be a good thing for you to come to the Shade Tree Commission if it ever takes place.
All right, well, I'll make notes of some of the places, townships that are really bad in the wintertime because of people planting those big shade trees.
Okay, Maria.
I just have a question. In doing that, and I'm all for saving trees, how would that affect, like, do you see that if you put a shade tree commission in, and then you want to do like what they did at Hilltop, where a lot of trees came down to widen the road, and like, will the Shade Tree Commission have effect on that?
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
Good, thank you.
So do we want to take action on this, or think about it and come back to it next meeting to setting up 3 or 5 or some commission?
How about we direct the manager and solicitor to look into it? Expensive and quickly.
Prepare a recommendation to it.
Yeah. Hey, give us some idea what the scope would be. That's one thing I'd like to know.
Yeah, we have to have some kind of delineation between the road crew, the shade tree. I mean, there's certain things that have to happen by the road crew. And you want the shade tree commission's recommendations to be reasonable. So
we're going to have Jim look in and make a proposal to us?
Yeah.
Okay? Do we need a motion for that, or just say we direct?
No, don't need a motion.
No motion.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Can we just announce the executive session for October 5th?
Okay. Consider it announced. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.